Hey guys, it is Nick the Booksmith. Welcome back to my channel. You're going to hear me talk over this part of the video because I forgot to plug in my microphone. So you're just going to have to listen to me do this, and my hands are going to do weird things that have nothing to do with what I'm saying. But what I'm talking about is this piece of fabric, and what it is a canvas drop cloth that you can get at any home improvement store. I put it through the washing machine with a little bit of fabric softener and to soften it up a little bit. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to cut out 4 squares that are the exact same size, and they ended up being about 18 inches by 18 inches square. And then at the bottom corners, as you can see, I cut in 2.5 inches from the side, and then I cut up from the bottom 2.5 inches, and then I took out those little squares from the bottom corners. One of these panels, as you can see, I'm showing you what I want it to look like. One of these panels I have taped off, and I want little lines to look like a library card. So I've spaced out just kind of what I think it might be with some masking tape, and I'm going to use some fabric medium and some regular paint that I mixed together because I didn't have any fabric paint. And I'm just basically just going to paint these lines in, and I'm hoping that they're going to work at this point. Spoilers, they do, but yeah, I was worried that it was going to run underneath and like bleed through, because when you add the textile medium to the craft paint, it makes it really soupy, and so I was kind of worried about that. And then I am going to take off the tape. Sorry about my head being in the way. Not only did I forget to plug in my microphone, but I didn't even know where the camera was, so I apologize for that. So the lines are kind of rustic and a little messy, but that's okay. That's all right. I kind of like that. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to again take this masking tape, and it's 3/4 inch, I believe, and I'm going to make that line that goes up vertically up the left-hand side of a library card. And so basically I'm just going to tape it off. I'm just kind of guessing where it needs to be. Oh, there I am. There, I'm showing you the line. Yep, there you go, Nick. There's a line. I'm kind of guessing where it needs to be at this point. So here's me guessing. And I actually got out the ruler, so it wasn't too horribly out of whack, I hope. And then I mask off the other side. And then I just kind of paint it in. Exciting, right? It's exciting. And now I'm going to just peel that tape off. Voila! Okay, so the next thing I am going to want to do is put the words, so author, title, date due, borrower's name, all that kind of stuff that you see on a library card. And so I have some letter stamps, and so I'm just kind of figuring it out and just kind of stamping some things on. I could have used my Cricut for this in hindsight. I just didn't feel like figuring out everything in Photoshop and sending it. I was just, I have the stamps. I'm just going to stamp it. I'm just going to stamp it. So when I finished stamping, I cut out 2 pieces of fabric that are 4 inches wide by 26 inches long. And then I folded it in half, and you can see that there's a seam down one side. These are going to be your handles. After I sewed both of these strips of fabric in half, basically, I took it over to the ironing board, and as you can see, I folded it back on itself and then ironed down that seam and made sure that seam laid nice and flat, so that the handles will be flat and won't be bunchy. Okay, so now that we have sound on, what I just did after I sewed those straps together is I folded it so that I could iron that seam down. And so it makes a nice flat handle, right? So you have some choices, because at this point you would need to turn it inside out and iron it again, and then that becomes your handle. And then I also have this black cotton woven strapping trim, whatever they call it. And instead of turning it inside out, you could take something like this that would cover over that raw edge, and then you could sew down either side, and then that would encase your raw edges, and then your strap would have like a, like a layered effect. It would look like this. So this is where I have to make a decision. Is, do I want just plain straps on my tote, or do I want something, with a little bit of interest? And I honestly have not decided yet. It's gonna come down to, do I want to turn these inside out or not? So that's the decision to make at this moment. This stuff ravels like nobody's business. So I'm just going to warn you now that, it's like it gets everywhere. So you have to be, everything, all the raw edges, you won't be able to leave any raw edges, I don't think, unless they're zigzagged or sewn down, because they will just, ravel themselves away. And then pretty soon you will have no tote bag, or whatever else that your thingamabob, whatever else it is that you decide to make with these canvas drop cloths. Okay, I will be right back. I have to make a decision, and I will make the decision, and I will be right back, and we will move on to my next supposed step, whatever that might be. All right, I will be right back with one kind of handle or another. Okay, so I went ahead and went with the black strap across the top. I don't know, I just felt like it was different. So I made 2 of those, and now what you want to do is you want to take the 2 pieces that are going to be on the outside of your tote bag, and you want the right side facing towards you, and you want to put your strap right side to right sides, I'm assuming, so that when it's sewn, it's right side up, right? I don't know. So I can't find any pins at the moment, so I'm just going to take some of these little clips, the little Tim Holtz clips, and I'm just going to clip these where they go. And I'm also going to do that on the back side that's going to be the outside, and that will be this. So at this point, that's what you want to do. And we now will be sewing on the handles, and you just sew across, and you just sew across, and you just sew those on. So I'm going to do that, and then I will be right back. Okay, so now the handles are sewn on, and what I'm going to do next is I'm going to pin these right sides together like this, which is kind of difficult because it's got, handles in it. And I am going to sew across just the bottom because I want to put in a little extra step. Right sides together on your lining, the other 2 pieces, and right sides together on your outer shell. So I'm going to sew just a regular, probably 3/8 seam allowance across the bottom, and I will be both of those, and I'll be right back. All right, so I sewed the bottom seam on, this is the lining, and I also did the exact same thing on the outer shell. Another thing I did was I had some interfacing, and so I ironed down a piece of interfacing because on the other side I wanted to put like a little cell phone pocket. So this is just to kind of help support the fabric with a cell phone in it when you sew this on the other side. And basically this was just a square, and then I turned over the edges and zigzagged. That's all that was. Another thing I did was I took another scrap piece of this same fabric and I backed it with the interfacing, because what I want to do is I'm going to sew in a piece into the lining that will support the box bottom. Is this becoming way too complicated? Am I overcomplicating this? So the dimensions are 4 inches, this section here, by approximately, I'm going to say 13. So I kind of overcompensated and made too big of a piece. So let me move this aside. So we want something that is approximately 4 by 13. I don't have a pattern, I'm just winging it. So yeah. All right. So here is this, fits pretty well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just stitch this down real quickly, and then that will be my little box bottom support underneath. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the right sides together and I'm going to sew my side pieces. So I'm going to do that on both the outer shell and this inner lining, and then I will be right back and I'll show you. I'll probably go ahead and sew the pocket on too, but I'll be right back. All right, so now our side seams are all sewn together, and the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to press them flat open. And then what we're going to have to do is we kind of pull these apart like this, and we square up that little box down at the bottom like this, and we just sew across the bottom, and that's what gives us our little flat bottom. So you sew the box on this one and you sew the bottom box on this one, but then on the lining you only sew one of them because we're going to have to turn the whole thing inside out. So, but I'll show you that in a second. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to iron my side seams. I'm going to sew both bottom box corners on the outer shell and then one box corner on the inner shell, on the inner lining, and I'll be right back. And then maybe it'll make more sense for those of you that maybe have never made a tote before. So, all right, I'll be right back. All right, so I have sewn up both corners on the outer shell, and then on the inner shell I did one, and then I flipped it, and I want it right side out. So now we're going to sew both of these pieces together. We're almost done. And what we want to do is, this one is wrong side in, so put your handles in there. Put the handles on the inside, like this, just like this. And then we're going to take our lining that's right side out, this is right side in, and we're going to fit the right sides together. Which is easier said than done. And what's helpful is you just line up your side seams. You know, that's a doable thing, right? Because everything gets caught on your handles, and you know. Okay. So here we are. Okay. And here is this side seam. So it's probably a really prudent idea at this point to pin your side seams together so that they don't come cattywampus apart, you know. So try to do that. And look at all this raveling, isn't it awful? Now where are my other pins? Well, I have these big guys. I think these are boutonniere pins. tell you, I don't sew very often, so this is, but it'll work. And then I'm gonna kind of fit all this together here and just put a pin every now and again, maybe every 6 inches or so, just so that it's not shifting on you too much. And then I will sew all the way around the top using just whatever seam allowance I've been using. And I think I was going to use 3/8, but I think I ended up on 5/8 because this stuff ravels so much. I wanted to make sure that I wasn't messing something up, at least too horribly. So I'm gonna pin these together, and I will sew around the top of this monstrosity, and then I will be back and we will finish up this crazy project that I don't know why I needed to do this today. I don't even know why. But we're doing it. We're doing it now. All right, guys, I will be right back. All right, so I have sewn all the way around the top of the bag, sewing the outer shell to the inner lining. Now what you have to do is you pull out the inner lining, and look at this, and then you have to stick your paw in here, which is not always easy, and you have to very, very carefully pull everything right side out through this last little corner that you left unsewn. And hopefully if we did this right, we don't have like a wrong side out somewhere. I've done that before and that's not fun. And it looks like a hot mess until you finish all this up. Okay, there we are. All right, so what you need to do is, since this is a raw edge, you need to fold everything in backwards like this, and it's probably an excellent idea to iron it, you know, iron a little, make a oh my goodness, my brain, iron your seam in, that's what I meant. And you can either hand sew this or you can just hit it with the sewing machine. I mean, this is the inner lining, so it's the inner lining. I mean, you can do what you want to do here. I'm not gonna tell you you have to hand sew it, and I'm not gonna tell you you have to machine stitch it. I think that part is up to you. I'm gonna let you make that call. I'll let you make that judgment call. So I will probably hand stitch it. Okay, so I'm almost finished, and for those of you that, well, camera, don't know what a whip stitch is, I don't know if this is going to teach you much, but basically you go in from the back side, and about every 1/8 of an inch, and you pull it through, and then you just keep coming in from that back side, and then that loops your thread over the top, and it closes up your seam. I almost said incision. Well, it is an incision. Can you tell there's medical people in my family? Okay, so that is a whip stitch. Kind of, sort of. It's my whip stitch. So I'm gonna just knot this off. All right, so now put the lining inside the bag, and you're going to have these little strings everywhere, so just, you know, have some scissors handy and just trim them off. It'll be all right. It's going to be all right, but it might take you a minute to get all of them taken care of, dispatched with. So put the lining inside like so. Here's your handles. Now the last thing that I am going to do is, so do you see how this top is kind of pillowy and fluffy? Well, you don't want that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take an iron to it, and I'm going to iron this nice and flat, this fold, and then I'm going to top stitch around the top of the bag, and that just gives it some more structure. It keeps your handles aimed in the right direction, and so I will be right back and we'll finish it up. Okay, as you can see, I did a double top stitching. I think it finishes off a little bit better and gives it some more strength to the top edge of the bag. And like I said, you're gonna have strings for a minute, but that's okay. It's okay. But isn't it cute? Oh, it's so cute. And it's got this reinforced little box bottom so that it's not all saggy, and you wouldn't have to do this to the straps. I think it looks kind of cool though, so I did it. But if you don't have that, if all you have is this fabric from a drop cloth, you could probably make several of these if you were crazy enough to want to do that. Oh, one was plenty. I'm done now. I'm done with the bag. But it wasn't that difficult. I think the biggest piece of advice I would give to somebody if they've never sewn together a bag before would be to iron all your seams. Always, always, always iron your seams and make sure that those are nice and flat, because that is the first thing that can get all booky and bunched up, is that if you don't iron your seams, the fabric's gonna just wanna, bunch on you. And that's no fun. And also your panels, your outside and inside, make sure that they are all exactly the same width and length, so that when you go and sew everything together, you don't have one piece that's longer than another and then you got little pleats because nothing was fitting. You don't want that. Don't do that. So make sure everything is all trued up and a similar size. This bag ended up being about 17 inches wide by about 15 inches tall. So a nice big bag. And then, like I said, here is the bottom, nice boxed bottom like that. And this is the inside. So the inside is all finished and there's no raw edges, and there's a cell phone pocket for your cell phone. So yeah, it's great. Well, I hope you guys liked making this tote bag with me. This canvas drop cloth fabric is super, super sturdy. A lot of the DIY like home decorator bloggers will get these and use them actually for like making slip covers for furniture. So this stuff is, it's meant to take a beating. So, and you get so much. I mean, I think I got a 9x12 or an 8x10. It was one or the other. And I think it was $7 or $8. So, I mean, super, super affordable. And then, like I said, I just washed it with a little bit of fabric softener. And then it's ready to make projects out of. I did find on the interwebs a little tutorial that is the bag construction is pretty much what I did. So I'm going to put that link in the description box below, so that if you've never made a tote bag before, you can go and look at this girl's blog and look through her little diagram of how she puts things together. And even though the dimensions are different, the handles are different, she didn't reinforce the bottom. There's several things that I did that she doesn't do, but the basic bag construction is the same. So I will link that down below in case you want to check that out. And again, thanks so much for playing with me today. I hope you like the tote bag. See, now you can take this to the library and you look like a pro. Like you know what you're doing, because only a pro would show up at a library with a library card tote bag, right? Like, you know what you're doing, you're an OG, the library knows who you are, you know, you're on a first name basis. Yeah, so make a tote bag. And if you make a tote bag, if you tackle this kind of ambitious project, tag me, let me know. I'd like to see it. So that'd be great. All right, guys, I will see you really, really soon in the next video. I think 3 journals are finished, so I'd like to get 3 more finished, and so that by the end of the week, I'll have at least 6. At least 6 to put up on the Etsy store. And of course, there will be other things in between there, so we'll see what happens. But thanks for hanging out with me today, and I'll see you really soon. Bye, guys.